hydrate or dihydrate. Hey y'all, it's Brody, and today I'm here to talk about some of my favorite underrated horror and thriller books. Before we start, I do want to say I am not feeling well, but I have to film a video because consistent upload schedule. So I apologize if I seem a little bit more low energy today. I'm feeling like horse shit. I feel like I'm known on BookTube, not that I'm like known, but whenever people talk about my channel, they mainly talk about me in a young adult sense. And yes, I do. I read a lot of YA. I get it. I read a lot of YA. But I read a lot of other stuff too. One of my favorite genres is horror slash thriller. I try and read a little bit of everything. But today I have something exciting to share with you. I received an arc of Empire of Wild by Sherry Demeline from William Morrow. This was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. If you're not aware, I read another of Sherry Demeline's books, The Marrow Thieves, earlier this year, and I loved it and I gave it 5 stars. The publisher reached out to me asking me if I would like to receive a copy. I said yes, of course. I read it. I loved it. You should check it out. It comes out July 28th of this year, so if this video is going up when I think it's going up, you still have time to pre-order. Would definitely recommend it. We will talk about it later in the video. I have a lot of favorites in the horror thriller genre, but I'm not going to be talking about all of my favorites today because they're either books that like I've talked about a lot, like Five Midnights, Wilder Girls, My Sister the Serial Killer, and Foul is Fair. Yes, I found a way to sneak Wilder Girls into yet another video. I'm not going to stop, I'm sorry. Or they're books that are already known and well-loved by the community. So, like Riley Sager's Lock Every Door, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, or Sadie by Courtney Summers. So I decided to shift the spotlight away for a little bit, and today I'm going to be talking about 6 books that I have seen basically no one talking about on BookTube. The first one I want to talk about is one that really shocked me with how much I liked it, and that is Stockholm Girls by Claire Legrand. I know, you're rolling your eyes. I said this is going to be books that no one talked about. I feel like everyone talked about Stockholm Girls a lot when it came out, and not so much anymore. I can only think of a couple of people who actually really love this book. Myself included. If you don't know what this is, think of it as like a feminist version of Stephen King's It. Basically, there's this rock, there's this island, it's called Stockholm Rock. Everyone knows that girls go missing on the town. Girls go missing on Stockholm Rock. They die. They're never seen again. And it's kind of an unspoken thing that like everyone is aware of this monster living on the island. So there are 3 POV characters in here. One is a girl who is new to the island. One is a girl who has lived on the island for a while and her best friend was killed by the monster. And the third perspective is the girl whose family aids the monster in killing people. This book is dark. It's kind of gory. It's not that graphic, but there's some gore in it that I appreciated. Also was not expecting the speculative science fiction-y element to this. I really enjoyed it. I think you would too if you gave it a chance and didn't just listen to mediocre reviews. The way that all of these characters kind of own themselves and like get shit done, I really appreciate in this book. This book is also very diverse. We have characters of different body types. We have characters of different ethnicities, characters of different sexualities. I really enjoyed it. And I don't understand why people don't talk about it. I need to see this maybe not as like a television show, but like an indie film. I think it would be an amazing indie film. Next up, I have a comic book called Witches. I believe that the story is by Scott Snyder and the art is by someone named Jock. There's everyone involved if you would like to go check them out. This is creepy as fuck. It's about a girl who has an incident at her old school, and her classmate is essentially murdered in the woods. And she and her family decide they're going to move towns. There's a cult. There's creatures that come out of the trees and human sacrifice. Very dark. Let me find some arts. Very well done. It's interesting in a very unsettling way. I say it's underrated, but also I feel like comics in general are just something that isn't really discussed on BookTube, at least not the people I watch. If you have any recommendations for booktubers who talk more about comics, then drop them down below because I would like to check them out. But I definitely think you should check out Witches if you want a good, fun, spooky time. Yeah, very quick, easy to read. I read it in one sitting, loved it. Okay, next is another one that I have only seen myself talk about. I've never seen another person talk about this. And that is The Sacrifice Box by Martin Stewart. But I think The Sacrifice Box can best be summed up if It by Stephen King and Pet Cemetery had a baby. You make a sacrifice to the box, and then you promise an oath, and if you break the promise, the things that you put in the box come back to kill you. So, yes, this book has, like, demonic teddy bears coming back to murder teenagers. Also, all of the animals who are dying on the island are coming back in this, like, murderous rage because the thing in the box is so, like, hell-bent on killing the children who broke the promise. I don't really know why I love this so much, but this book scared the shit out of me. Like, I've had low-key nightmares about this. Not, like, strong, in-depth nightmares, but it definitely kept me awake, staring at my stuffed animals like, are you gonna come kill me? Very hard to explain. Would definitely recommend you go check this out. If this does not get a film, it's not going to. I know it's not going to get a movie, but, like, I need it to get a movie. Of everything on this list, this was the most 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, now the last 3 books are all by Indigenous authors because you came to my video, that's what you're getting. I'm going to talk about one that, if I've ever mentioned it on my channel, it was very brief because I didn't have a physical copy of it, and back then I didn't know how to, like, put the photo up on the screen. But that is going to be Crota by Owl Going Back. I read this last November for the Indigathon. If you like creature features, then I think you are going to like Crota. So movies like Grizzly or Jaws or Gator or, like, giant 50-foot tarantula, anaconda, megalodon movies. Crota is a monster that is indigenous to North America. And after our white man protagonist, who is a sheriff, is called out to investigate what people believe is double homicide, he's like, oh, it looks kind of like a bear attack. It's not a bear attack. A bunch of white guys who try and figure out the monster that's killing people and going to kill the monster and, you know, discover the ancient underground civilization the monster has been living in. They're like, we're gonna kill the monster, we're gonna take the fame and whatever. And because white people being white people, you know, they all get murdered. And it's up to the Native American beat the Crota. It reads like something from the Sci-Fi Channel. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the campiness of it all. I do want to say it does kind of suffer from, like, the male gaze, though, in the sense that there are, like, no compelling female characters in here. So, like I said, don't expect fine literature. This is what I say with horror. You have different kinds of horror, right? Don't watch Wrong Turn expecting Black Swan. It's not to be said that every piece of media can't be criticized or looked at with a critical eye. I definitely encourage people to do that, but also I think, like, know what you're getting into. So just be aware that this book has, like, no female characters. There's no depth to any of the female characters that exist. It's just a good, trashy, fun time. Next, we have The Last Final Girl by Stephen Graham Jones. So, I've been reading a fuck ton of Stephen Graham Jones this year. I think this is my 3rd or 4th Stephen Graham Jones I've read. Stephen Graham Jones, y'all, it's just, I think, might be my favorite author of all time with the way that this year has gone. This book is a straight up slasher, okay? It's told almost in script film style. It's not done in script format where it's like, and then character A has this line of dialogue, and then character B has this line of dialogue. It's written like a novel, but also a screenplay. It's very hard to explain, but I really enjoyed it. So there's a slasher villain named Billie Jean who wears a Michael Jackson mask after a Halloween truck crashed into a river. Yes, that is the backstory for our villain. He murdered a bunch of people in the woods, a bunch of high school kids. The sole survivor, the final girl, was like valedictorian-y, virgin-y, you know the final girl type. She's like the goody two shoes, straight A type chick. She's clearly a run-in for homecoming queen, but because all of her friends were the other homecoming court people, she is able to hand select who she wants to be in her court. And she chooses a seemingly random group of girls who are all also final girls of their own horror stories. This book is very campy. It is very balls to the wall. It's very tropey, which I love. There's a scene with a horse and a decapitation on a football field. There are scenes with swords. I don't know. If you are looking for slasher in book form, then you need to check out this one. And then the last book I'm going to be talking about today, as I mentioned earlier, is Empire of Wild by Sherry Demeline. So Empire of Wild follows a woman named Joan, and her husband has been missing for almost a full year. He walked out on her after a fight, and he went missing. They can never find him again. So she is on her way back from a friend's house when she stumbles across this revival tent, like Christian revival group in a Walmart parking lot. She walks in because she hears a familiar voice, and it's her husband, except her husband does not recognize her, does not know who she is, does not remember being married to her or whatever, says he's never met her. So people in the community start dying, everyone starts freaking out because they believe a Rougarou has come to terrorize the community. If you want to know what a Rougarou is, for better, full, in-depth explanation, Google it, but basically, Wolfman. It's a man who has been turned into a Rougarou, which is kind of a shape-shifting wolf person, after doing something bad. That's the basics. One thing I really appreciated about this book is it doesn't just look at the Rougarou from an indigenous perspective. It looks from multiple perspectives, and one of the characters even says, like, we don't, this is just our story. This is our version of it. So I appreciate that, how it looks at the different origin stories of different legends. Not gonna spoil it, but there are also entities of other lore that I really appreciated being woven into this. This book just kind of like hit me like a truck. If this sounds interesting to you, I definitely recommend you go checking it out. It's published by William Morrow, and it comes out July 28th of 2020. I think it came out in Canada last year, so if you're from Canada, you can get your hands on this. I do want to suggest that you go check trigger warnings for all of the books that I've mentioned. I will look online and see if I can find any lists, and if I can, I will leave them down there, so make sure you go check that out. I would love for you to love my favorite books as much as I do, but I do want everyone to read safely, so yeah, definitely go check out trigger warnings for all of these. But that is all I have for you today. If you have read any of the books that I have mentioned in today's video, then please let me know your thoughts about them down in the comments. If not, then let me know if you are interested in reading any of them. Comment question of the day, let me know what your favorite underrated horror, thriller, mystery, psychological, spooky time book. One that you don't see talked about a lot in the community that you think more people should talk about. And if you don't have time to answer the comment question, you just don't want to do it, you don't have the spoons, then leave me an emoji, preferably a yellow heart, because those are my favorite, or to stay on theme, a knife, because spooky times. Be sure to check out all of my social medias and stuff down below, all of my contact information, my Twitter, my Goodreads, XYZ, all that down there. Go check that out. Okay. Hope you have wonderful, whatever it is, wherever you are. I will see you next time for another video. Thank you for watching. Okay, cool.